So thanks for coming today to today's information session. We're going to talk about the Gator to Gator coaching program offered by the OCCP, and then we'll hear from a few of our coaches from the program. So in today's session, we really want to answer what is the Gator to Gator coaching program? What can you guys as the students gain from this experience? How can you apply? And then how can you get the most out of your coaching session once you are matched with someone? So just a broad overview of the program. The Gator to Gator coaching program pairs students at least within 2 years of graduating with a CJC alum for a 30-minute to 60-minute virtual coaching session. So let's talk about the student role in the program and then what students can expect from their coaches. So we really want our students to come to their sessions prepared, asking questions about their coach's career progression, what they do in their industry, what their day-to-day job looks like. This is also the time to receive advice on professional development, ask about current career opportunities, and then learn how to navigate the job market. So having your resume reviewed, learning interviewing skills, things that could help you at post-graduation when you're looking for a job. And then from the coaches side, we really expect them to provide our students with advice on the industry that they're in, and then give insight into any current opportunities they might know of. Each coach should be tailoring the session to their students, so they should be identifying what they can do to prepare their students for the job market, and how they can help with their job search post-graduation or looking for an internship. And then ideally, we want our coaches to be able to connect our students with any job or internship leads they might have in the industry or with the company that they work for. And then just a little tidbit, our coaches are able to coach more than one student. So going back to, we expect them to tailor each session to each student that they're coaching in that semester. So what does the application process look like? What does matching look like from the back end? So first and foremost, applications are open now. If you didn't know already, I know I see some faces that I saw yesterday, so I talked a little bit about this, but the deadline is coming up pretty fast. It's Sunday, March 5th. I'll talk a little bit more at the end of the presentation about the link to go and apply. So in the past, we had only been offering the Gator to Gator coaching program to students in their graduating semester, but now we're offering it to students within 2 years or like 4 semesters of graduating, but it's still kind of geared towards your post-graduation needs or what you're looking to do post-graduation. So once you apply, we'll go through your answers, like feed through them, and then we hand select a coach from our coaches list and match you guys based off of what you identify as your professional goals or what you want to do post-graduation. So this can be what location you're looking to move to, what particular job roles you're interested in, what industry you're interested in, and we find the best match for you. And so once you apply, you'll start receiving program updates from us through email. And then once you're matched in a program, we'll send you an introduction through email for your coach, and we'll provide you with their name, what company they work for, the role that they're in, what degree they received from the CJC and what year. And then we'll provide some insight into why we gave you that match, usually kind of backtracking to answers that you gave within your application, like what location you were interested in or what your dream career looked like. So let me give you some tips for applying and then some tips for your session once you're getting started with your coach. So first and foremost, we want you to be as specific as possible. We ask a lot of questions within the application, and the more insight you give us, the better we can find the best match for you. We'll ask you to rank things like, are you looking for your resume to be reviewed? Are you wanting to ask them about their post-graduation journey? And the more you can give us, the more background you can give us on what you want to get out of your coaching session, the easier it is for us to find someone who can provide that for you. And then at the end of the application, we'll ask for your resume. And while we want you to keep it polished and dusted off for us, this isn't an interview, so you don't have to worry about it being completely perfect. It's just an opportunity for your coach to look back at maybe some internships you've done or volunteer opportunities you've had, and get a little bit more background information so that they can tailor the session to your needs and be more prepared to answer your questions or talk to you about the industry. And then we encourage you to apply as soon as possible. So as soon as you apply, even though we're not in the matching process yet, we'll start looking through your answers and considering who might be the best match for you. If we don't have the best match for you, we'll start looking into other options and reaching out to alumni to add them to our coaches list if we feel like they might be a perfect match for you. So some tips going into your session. We want you to be as prepared as possible. You'll connect with your coach through email. So this is a perfect time to let them know ahead of time that you want to talk about their journey after graduation or what the industry is looking like, or that you want them to review your resume. And then once you kind of set that agenda up with your coach, you can start preparing your questions. You can even send them your questions beforehand. Being as prepared as possible will keep your coaching session on track and keep it as productive as possible, especially only given 30 to 60 minutes. And then afterwards, we really encourage you to follow up through email with your coach. So while the program only requires one session, we do encourage you to send an email. You can thank them for their time, and then ask them about meeting up in the future for more coaching sessions if you feel like you need them. So let's hop into the coaches panel. I'll introduce each coach. So first off, we have Chris. He is a 2014 journalism graduate. He's currently a New York Yankees beat reporter at The Athletic, where he covers the team on a day-to-day basis. As a Gator to Gator coach, he likes to serve students interested in sports journalism, either print and online media or broadcasting, or students who in general need advice on trying to break into the sports industry. And then we have Scott. Scott received his bachelor's degree in telecommunications in the 80s. He's currently a producer director for the United States Agency for Global Media. In his position, Scott directs news, broadcasts, entertainment shows, and talk shows that air around the world. The programs air on multiple platforms in the native language of the country he is working with at the time. As a Gator to Gator coach, he likes to serve the needs of telecommunications and journalism students, but is open to helping anyone who takes a proactive approach in getting their career started. And then we have Brian, who is a 2006 advertising graduate. They're currently the head of global incentives at Google, where they handle multi-client, multi-region programs to help accelerate their client base when it comes to advertising across search, video, and display products. As a Gator to Gator coach, they like to serve students interested in the marketing, sales, advertising field, inclusive of working at an agency, client, and/or publisher, as well as students who need help when it comes to navigating a move after graduation, working on your resume, and overall how to drive impact in the workplace. So I want to ask each coach one preset question, and then I'll open it up to the students to ask any questions they might have. So first off, Chris, hate to break it to you guys, but journalism students are probably one of the least engaged students when it comes to applying for the program. So maybe you can touch on how students in journalism can benefit from the program. Like what kind of advice can they receive from their coaches or specialized insights that they might not get in the classroom?
Well, I think the main thing for me is journalism is really about can you actually do the job and building connections. I've been a sports reporter for 8 years now, so I have a lot of experience in starting in the industry and then working my way up to moving to New York City and now covering the Yankees, which is a global sports team. But I think the one thing that students can get is what I feel like I was missing when I was a student is, how do you get a job? How do you actually succeed in the workplace? Individual editing for stories. I think it's really important. One thing I like in prior years when I've had students is, especially journalism students, is sending me stories that they've already written so I can either go over it with them or give them advice on how they could actually make their stories better. What I learned back when I was trying to get my first job out of school is a lot of employers want to see if you can actually do the job. You may have a 4.0 GPA, but do you actually have journalism clips? Do you have any sort of experience that demonstrates that you're actually able to do a reporting job? I think that's really critical. So what I like doing in my sessions is just stressing to the fact that University of Florida has so many opportunities on campus, and you're doing a disservice if you're not getting involved before graduation, because one of the things that is critical, in my opinion, is there are so many people who want to be a reporter, or especially in the sports industry, but you're also competing against people around the country who may have experience, and those people may have an advantage over you. So I just like giving real world advice to the students I've coached in the past. And I think that's really, really important for students to get in their heads while they're in school, is to take advantage of all the opportunities. There's a newsroom there, there's the Alligator, there's WFT. You can string for the Gainesville Sun. There's so many opportunities. And that's one thing I do like talking about in my sessions.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we've talked about this as a team, that while journalism students have very hands-on classes, and I feel like they think they're prepared for a career after graduation, there's a disconnect, and they can still receive advice. And maybe that's where we're missing those students, getting them to apply. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. So my second question is actually a twofer for Scott. So Scott, how can students best prepare for their sessions, and what can they do beforehand to get ready to meet with their coaches? And then on the second half of that, how do you like to prepare as a coach to make sure that your students are having the best experience?
Well, the first thing you want to do is study their resume. The students that I get, we get their resume, and I study what they're into, and I talk about what kind of I should say I like to examine what kind of things they want out of life. I've been a mentor for not only this program, but for the military and for my own agency. And there's a lot of questions that I formulate, not only about their career, but about their life. And what I do to prepare is actually email them those questions and have them think about it, and they email me back. So it gives them time to prepare for our meeting by kind of getting the ball rolling, getting these questions going, getting an email dialogue going, and just, examining what we really want in life. Because we're talking about coaching, people and their careers, right? But here's the question you have to ask yourself. Is the career the only part of your life? The obvious answer is no. Your life composes of career and, more importantly, your family. So when you join this coaching session, at least with me, I like to talk about everything, and it even goes beyond family. We talk about the financing of how much money do you expect to make, things of that nature. I mean, I really like to get into it, and I do it by emails to my students that I talk with, and kind of get an idea of what they are really feeling about their careers and their life in general. And that gets us started into the whole mentoring program, the mentoring session. And I think it's pretty good. What was the other part of the question? Sorry.
You kind of answered both. I was saying,
I think I did.
Like to prepare for sessions as a coach.
I did.
So
I think I did. Yeah. But I want to touch upon something that Chris said. UF is a tremendous school, tremendous resources. There are so many opportunities to do things there. I took full advantage of them. This is not about me, okay? This is about the students. But I excelled in my career because I took advantage of everything that UF offered. And the thing is, they got to do that. It's nice to have a Zoom meeting and talk about things, but you know what? You need to get out there, and you need to make some sacrifices if this is the career you really want to do. It means working holidays. It means working during the summer, things of that nature, and you need to really question yourself. Is that what you want to do? Do you want to spend the holidays alone working, or do you want to spend it with family? So we get into that kind of thing. I guess I go really deeper into it, but my sessions with my students, they usually last more than the half hour, more like an hour and a half, sometimes 2 or 3 times we talk. But that's how I prepare, and that's how I have my mentees prepare, by actually reaching out through email and giving them a series of questions so they can prepare their meeting with me.
I'm glad you mentioned that about getting involved too, because that's part of that was part of the decision to start incorporating students who are like juniors or who are within 4 semesters of graduating, was that so coaches could kind of tap into them a little bit earlier, give them that advice while they're slowly transitioning out, instead of like that very last semester, those last couple of months, where for some people it might be a little too late to start getting involved. But yes, I always enjoy seeing your emails to the students and like how you like to prepare. So that's why I wanted to ask that question. And then the last question is for Brian. So what do some of your best coaching sessions look like? What kind of questions have you gotten from students? Maybe toot your own horn. What's some like good advice you feel like you've been able to give them?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to coming to a coaching session, at least for me, I like it when the student comes with a goal, right? I try to go into every meeting, even at work, with a goal. And so it helps really guide the conversation. And so if you're walking into a meeting or a coaching session and you have a goal in mind, then it helps you kind of understand where you want to go in the conversation. And so I think, like, even if it's a small goal, right? Like you're saying, okay, coming out of this meeting for my first coaching session, I want to get confirmation that they will have another call with me. That's a great goal, right? And you want to make sure that you have that. So I always think it's important to have that in the back of your mind, and even write it down and keep it on a post-it note by your computer while you're having the conversation. I think energy and positivity is really good. I've had some coaching sessions where the other person on the other side doesn't feel as engaged. And so, we're giving our time, you're giving your time. Come energetic, come positive, and come ready to have a good conversation. And with that, also just be open to feedback, right? There's probably some things you're doing that the coach might give you a little bit of feedback on, and be open to that. As far as questions that I like to receive, I think, like Scott mentioned, when he likes to research and understand who his mentee is, I think it's also important for the mentee to do their research on who their coach is, right? And so the questions that I really like is when I feel like the person has done their research, right? And so, if you ask me about my career journey overall, that's very broad. But if you ask me about a specific role that I've had in my company based on my LinkedIn, or you connect with me with a certain detail, that starts to open me up as a coach even more, because it shows that you did your homework and are coming prepared to ask really specific questions to achieve, again, back to my original thing, that goal you have for the conversation. I will also say, I think Scott alluded to, we're in this more than just work. And I think it's important to be personal. So it's okay to ask some personal questions and ask maybe how we juggle personal and our professional lives. And it's okay to get a little personal too. So I also think that breaks down barriers and builds more long-term relationships. And then also bring up perspective. I think when you're asking questions, bring your perspective. What's your opinion? Give your opinion while asking the question. Don't just ask blanketed questions. It's important to show the mentor that you've also done a little bit of like thoughtfulness, and you've thought about some of the questions that you're asking, and you have a POV on that. As far as like tooting my own horn, as far as some advice, I don't know. I honestly tailor every single conversation I have to the student that I'm talking to. I don't think I have like a blanketed, like amazing, like way of helping students, because I think every student's in a different place in their journey, and I like to tailor that. I will say though, I do teach at UF, and I teach digital sales and a couple of other courses, and there have been some students that have just been really proactive. Not even in this coaching session or program, they just reached out saying, can you review my resume? Or I saw this job at Google. And I actually got one of my students a job at Google because she did the work, she did the resume, and I just helped coach her through the whole process. And so the more that you can be proactive with your own career, honestly helps us be more proactive for you.
I think that's really good advice, like, bringing more to your session, being prepared so that you can have like a conversation, and the conversation can go both ways. So the more engaged you are, the more engaged your coach will be. And I feel like that's something I didn't include. So like at the end of the program each semester, we have our coaches fill out an evaluation, we have our students fill out an evaluation, and sometimes we get back feedback that students aren't as engaged. And I feel like, you know, that creates a disconnect. Like, how are you supposed to coach someone who doesn't feel present at their session? So I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because that is something that I see at least once a semester, that a coach will say like, you know, I didn't feel the same engagement from my student. Well, cool. That's all of the questions that I have, but I'll open it up to the students to be able to ask you guys questions that they might have.